Hey, welcome to the men's room, the hangout where dads, husbands, and everyday guys level up. I'm Chad Henderson, twin dad, husband, lifelong learner. Travel with me as I open up the real conversations that push me to become a better dad, husband, and friend. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Men's Room. I've got a special and new guest with me, hopefully a recurring guest. I'm excited to introduce everyone to Anthony. Anthony, welcome, man.
Hello, everyone.
Tell the folks about you. How do we know each other?
Well, let's see. That's an interesting story. So what has it been? 7, 8 years?
Yeah.
We adopted siblings, basically. So we
So
became family.
Gregory and Ella's brother. There's their oldest or their older brother in the sibling group. It's so confusing to say it all. But is Ronnie, and you are the one who basically is teaching me as we go here how to be a dad. And I was like, dude, you're listening to this podcast. I just gotta like bring you into it because I learned so much about like what it means to raise a boy, what it means to raise a black boy from you anyway. So welcome. You just gotta join me here.
Thank you, Chad. It's really ironic that you say that because it's like realistically we've been parents like the same amount of time.
Exactly.
But being an uncle, way before I ever became a parent, you kind of primed me and prepped me for that role. And then obviously being a black man in America anyways, just kind of made me show up different for my nephew. And I'm just happy that I'm able to share the things that I've learned, and I'm happy to have this opportunity. When we first talked about this, I was like, well, what could I possibly say that people would find interesting? And
Yeah.
then it was like, you know what? You got a lot of stuff to say. So
I mean, you and I, what's cool about that, man, my hair looks dorky up like that. What's been fun is, the cost that 7 or 8 years, like, we might go periods of time where I don't get to see you, but we always had like sporting events and we would come together for like football or soccer games. And I pick your brain and like we would just talk and then I'd leave refocused and I'd come back to the next game. And I felt like it was almost like parent therapy for me while I was there supporting Ronnie.
and it was kind of like therapy for me too, because when Ronnie came to live with me, it was like my whole world changed, obviously, and my focus became a lot on him, obviously. And my friend group could only take so much of me talking kids and parenting and football and basketball and all those things that go into that. Having you and Keelan to like vent to talk to, or even to share stories with was awesome.
Yeah.
It was therapy for me as well. So
Yeah. Well, we're so excited that we still obviously have you in our lives. Now we're driving a little further to those sporting events as we got Ronnie now playing football at Gustavus, and so it's a lot further to get out there. But I'm excited for you to join in. I have been going through some crazy stuff over here. Wednesday, I got to tell you about this. We come home, right? So Thanksgiving leftovers. We're in the season where it is cold outside, so my deck is my deep freezer right now. Like it just is. So I had my cheesecake from Thanksgiving. The plastic container was sitting out on the deck, and I brought it in, and I thought there was like frosting or something all over it, right? So I left it sitting on the counter. I asked Keelan, she's like, "No, Chad, that's definitely bird shit. Like, there's no doubt about it. That's bird shit." I'm like, "What? Bird shit?" I was like, "Wait, if it was out here," so I walk out on the deck. It's 2 steps from my kitchen. I look up. There's a pigeon. A big ass pigeon, a beautiful pigeon, mind you. Not like this pigeon just had an aura about it, like this pigeon wasn't no New York City pigeon.
you had a
Turns
bougie
out,
pigeon.
yeah, it's unfortunately, Ella goes crazy for birds. She's like, "Oh, God, I'm going to bring it in." I'm like, "God damn it, no, you're not bringing this thing in." I'm trying to like take a picture of the band on its foot. I'm posting a picture on the Blaine site. Anyway, you wouldn't believe what I uncovered. There is an entire pigeon culture all around us. I found out there's a guy raising pigeons in Lina Lakes. There's a guy raising pigeons in Coon Rapids. Well, as it turned out, this pigeon that was now at my house apparently lives in Coon Rapids and was 60 of his siblings were attacked by a hawk and he flew away a month ago. So this guy shows up at my house and picks up this bird. I've been talking, I'm in deep with the pigeon community in Minnesota now. I'm in deep with the pigeon community.
You always find yourself knee deep in something.
Well, once somebody responded, because at first I'm like, I'm gonna post a picture of this pigeon and be like, is this anyone's bird? I'm gonna get mocked. It's a friggin' pigeon, Chad. Like, no, it's not anyone's pigeon. But no, as it would turn out, I would be contacted by a lot of bird lovers and an entire an entire. So anyway, a long story short, Ella and I are going to visit this guy's farm. We're gonna go see all the pigeons that he raises because now Ella's got too many damn questions and I don't have all the answers for it.
Turn it into a learning opportunity, and you know, as parents, we look for those opportunities, right? Like,
This one found me and literally shit on my cheesecake. So there's nothing you can do, nothing you can do about that. I had to share that story. I was like, oh my God, Anthony's not going to believe this. I couldn't even text it to you because I needed you to hear it here. So anyway, that's the tale of the Wednesday pigeon. That was our just a normal Wednesday night in the Yenny Henderson household.
I saw the picture on Facebook. I can't remember if it was your page or Keelan's page, and I was just like, "Oh, I can't wait to hear this story."
Oh my God,
Because
dude.
I know how
Unreal.
Ella is about birds, and she was probably flipping her shit
Oh
that
man,
the
she
bird
got
is
the chair.
cold.
Yeah, the whole works. And in my mind, like I don't know anything, but I'm also like, hun, it is a pigeon though. Like birds live outside, you know. Like here I am now sitting at soccer. I was stressed. I'm stressed texting the pigeon community. Some some guy puts in the he responds to the post and he says like I raise pigeons, like this isn't my pigeon, but I'll come help. I'm like, perfect. And this other lady's like, don't give him the pigeon, it's not his pigeon. I'm like, what do you think this is, Wile E. Coyote Man? Like, what the hell do you think is going on here? Like, what do you think this man's gonna do to the pigeon? One guy posted, he said, just eat it. I'm like, man, public posts, dude. You gotta be careful where you where
Yeah,
you
exactly.
post.
Exactly.
So anyway, so that's my dive. So if you want to come with us, we're going to visit the pigeons maybe next week or something. So
You know, not really my shtick. I think
it
I'll stick
turned
to
out
soccer.
it was called a Birmingham roller pigeon, and it did backflips when it flies, apparently. So that's what made it special. I mean, that's a pretty good trick, but I am not raising any pigeons. Somebody said this is Ella's start. I'm like, no, please, we're not raising birds over here. We're not going
I
to
could
raise
see you
birds.
getting enough space in a house for not only a pool but and a little aviary for
Exactly.
for Ella.
100%. But we're entering obviously holiday season. I haven't recorded an episode of this in a while, so we'll be dropping this soon. But I've been thinking a lot watching you. You know, we've been driving, like I said, up to Gustavus. We went up for family weekend. We went up for a couple football games to see Ronnie playing. But what's this transition been like for you in the last? I mean, the transition is a lot longer than this year. Right? You were transitioning for a long time. What's it like becoming the parent of a college student? How you doing?
You know, I thought long and hard about this, and it happened in such a weird time of my life. You know, my best friend had passed away last December, so we're coming up on that anniversary. And so it was just like this thing when Ronnie was getting ready for school to leave for school that like my best friend's gone and now my kid's gone. You know, like these are like literally my best friends. Like these are people that are like so ingrained in my day-to-day life that shit, like, you know, what am I gonna do? I'm by myself. But that transition, first of all, it was a good distraction, you know, going to colleges and visiting with Ronnie and
Yeah.
you know, just kind of helping him through that situation and getting him through graduation. It was a good distraction, but the transition has been good. I think that it's been a good transition for me back into life of just being a single adult. It's also in weird ways strengthened Ronnie and I's relationship. I am not so much like this helicopter parent anymore. Not that
Yeah.
I can be. I mean, he's an hour and a half away, but you know, it's like I'm not so stressed out about you know, certain things. It's like I'm letting him kind of do his own thing and, you know, instead of being that more of a like, you know, parent and making sure that he, you know, is eating healthy and he's getting exercise and he's doing all these things and going to the dentist and, you know, all the things you do as a parent.
Yeah.
It's like now a lot of that's kind of on him, so I transitioned from being like that manager type to make
Yeah.
sure he's on track to more or less being like this coach that's like,
Yeah. That's a good way to put
"Hey,
it.
did you think about this?" Or, "What do you want to do about this situation?" Or, "Oh, well, how'd that work out for you? What'd we
Yeah.
learn in that situation?" Like kind of letting him do it's kind of natural to have him, screw up and make bad decisions and then just kind of talk through those things.
Yeah.
My whole thing is as long as you don't hurt yourself or hurt anyone else, particularly anyone else, then we're gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Now, you had posted that you had bought a book about men. I can't remember what it was. It was like, has he gotten that yet? Have you guys read that together yet?
No, it's a stocking stuffer for
I
him.
love it.
That
All
Scott
right, cool.
Galloway book, Notes on Being a Man.
I love it. So I saw that and I just thought that was such a beautiful idea. And that's actually when I was kind of triggered to be like, man, that's uh I don't think a lot of dads think about that move. Like, I just don't think it's at the top of the mind. I mean, I don't think it's on a lot of dads' minds to even like go seek that book out for themselves, but let alone receive that gift from a parent. I think that's a cool idea. I'm looking forward to that. That's so cool to watch you guys go through it. You always do a really good job, though, also of knowing when it's time. I learn a lot about when it's time to have soft love or tough love, or like when it's time to like get riled up with the kid, or you know um I don't know if I'll ever figure that out, man. I react so big all the time, but sometimes I'm like, what would Anthony do here? Like, because you do a good job. You'll sit down with Ellen and you're like, now tell me about that. And I'm like, man, I'm going to wring her neck. And you're like sitting down calm and asking good questions.
I will tell you, it's a lot easier, for me anyways, in their Ella and Gregory's age to
Sure.
kinda have that, conversation versus Ronnie when he's like 15 or 16, it's like now some shit you just know better,
Yeah.
like, but Ella and Gregory, it's like, okay, now we're gonna learn from this so that this doesn't happen again, right? Or we're gonna make a better decision next time. And by the way, I love that you and Keelan give me the permission to be that type of uncle and
Yeah.
and be,
Please.
like
Please,
there and
man.
involved. I really love that. And one of the things as it pertains to discipline that like I think back to my childhood and what discipline was like in my household growing up. And I will say in my family and in my culture and in my background, like they believed in spankings. Did I get spankings as a kid growing up? Yeah. Is it something that I like remember as being like some horrible like thing like I was spanked every day and it's like no, there wasn't any abuse, but there I got spankings. But I say that to say that sometimes I didn't always like the type of discipline or I didn't always agree with what the discipline was. My mom had a tendency and my grandmother had a tendency to, if I'm late from curfew, they're taking everything away from me. Like you can't go, you go to school and you come home, like, or you can't watch TV, those sorts of things. And it was like, well, that's stupid. Like, what do you just want me to sit here? So it was like when, raising Ronnie, it's like I really, really, really tried to be cognizant of making like the punishment, if you wanna call it that, or, like, the consequence fit, like, what the
Yeah.
violation was. And I did it in really, really sneaky ways too that sometimes he didn't even always catch on to until it was already too late,
I know.
and I'll never forget one time it was a curfew issue, and I think he had to be in the house at, like, 11 or something on the weekend, and he got there late. "Oh, okay, we're not gonna fuss or anything." The next time he asks to go out, instead of 11, now your curfew's 10:30. And he's like, "Oh,
What?
okay,"
Why?
he goes out. No, he goes out, he's fine, That's cool for a couple of weeks, then he's late again. Now the curfew's 10, and now it's like, "Well, wait a minute. Well, what's going on?" And it's like, "Well, you couldn't
You didn't
handle
respect it.
11."
Yeah. You didn't respect it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, those sorts of things and taking those opportunities to, I just didn't believe in taking everything from a kid,
Yeah.
like if there was something he did on his phone that was inappropriate or, on it after he shouldn't be, then okay, I'm taking the phone for a day or two, those sorts of things. But I didn't say, oh, now you can't play your video games, like it was
Yeah, yeah,
just, it's weird things like that.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely. No, I don't. I'm not looking forward to those teenage years, folks. I mean, I feel like I got a little bit of them already, but I know that's not true. It's just gonna keep getting a little bit worse. Yeah, it
and
is
you're
what it
gonna
is.
have both sides of the coin. You're gonna
At the
have
same
that
moment,
boy and the teenage girl, and it's you're gonna have both, and it's gonna be very different.
I agree.
Very, very different.
I agree. That's why you'll just come over and stay for 1, 2, 3 years, and that'll be perfect. Um, let's see what else is on my I wondered, so I thought it was interesting. I'm gonna have to tell Ronnie that we're gonna talk about him so much today. I didn't intend to just talk about Ronnie, but I was talking to him a little bit about politics and that kind of stuff and what it's like to be at a school outside of the city and whatever. What's that like having a football player, but there's like a certain level of like macho ness and testosterone, I think, that comes usually with your football team culture. How do you have those conversations with Ronnie and teach him, like, what's that been like for y'all? Like, did he always just kind of have it himself, or like did you ever have to like guide him through that?
I've always talked to Ronnie about masculinity,
Yeah.
about avoiding those toxic masculinity characteristics and falling into that trap of, you're a boy, so you do this, or you say this, or you act like this, or you like these things. It's like, no, you like what you like, like, and that's a part of who you are. That's a beautiful thing. Ronnie is big into music and he loves choir and singing and performing and dancing. He also loves basketball and football and sports and, all those things. And I really, really, in high school, I really wanted him to focus a lot, not only on just the sports, but also on, choir and, those sorts of things, because I think there's a place for both.
I love that. Yeah.
And also, one of the things that I really, really, really focused on with Ronnie was I always wanted him to know that I loved him. I
Yeah.
don't think that men, and particularly men in the African American community, I don't think we do enough of that with our boys. I think that our boys are always told to be tough.
Yeah.
Boys don't cry, show me your muscles, that sort of thing. Like, and it's like, well, no, if your feelings are hurt and you want to cry, you can cry. Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
make you less of a man or, like any of that. And so I always approached him with love. And I'll never forget one of the first times I had to discipline Ronnie. And he had a huge blow up, and it was, I want to go home, I'm going to hurt myself, all those sorts of things. And I had to just sit him down and I'm like, hey, listen, when I discipline you, that does not mean that I don't love you. That does not mean that I don't want you here. That does not mean that, you're some horrible kid. Like, none of those things are true.
Yeah.
The discipline or the consequence comes because you did something that you should not have done, and there's a consequence for every action. There's a consequence, and you just have to know that, and you just have to deal with your consequence, whatever that may be, whether you're grounded or, whatever, losing activity, whatever that looks like. And one of the things I always did too with Ronnie was I always made sure to validate how he felt and always tried to have him be able to communicate with me. Like, even though he may not like what I've said or what I've done or a decision that I've made, it's okay for you to say, hey, Uncle Anthony, I didn't, I don't really like that, and it's like, will it change things? Maybe. Sometimes not. And you got to be okay with that too. But the fact that you get to say that to me, as long as it's respectful and, those sorts of things, I think that that's healthy.
Yeah.
I think that's teaching a kid to advocate for themselves, which
Yeah.
is ultimately what we want them to be able to do, because as parents, we're not going to be here forever,
Right.
So,
Right.
They have to learn to do those things for themselves.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, I admire that, your ability to do that for sure. Wanted to keep it a short episode today. I think we hit some important topics, Anthony. I wanted to give the viewers a chance to meet somebody really important to me. We're going to be recording. I think you and I are going to get together once a week. At least that's the plan. So folks will get to know you a little bit better, and we will make sure that we have a good list of topics that we hit together as we continue to tackle this parent thing together. And you can continue to guide me because I've got two 10-year-olds that I need at least 9 more years out of you is what I'm saying. I
You
need at least.
know, your 10-year-olds they're great kids. They are. They keep me on my toes. And one of the things that I always try to remember is that like right now, Bella and Gregory are basically the same age Ronnie was when he came to live with me.
I think
So
about that
it's like
all the time. I
it's
think
like
about
so
it a
that's
lot.
like that's crazy to me.
I know.
But it oftentimes with Ella and Gregory, I'll even find myself forgetting because how little they are in stature,
Yeah.
but they're 10, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I'll sometimes like at the soccer game when it's like, what? Ella's going to the car by herself. And it's like, oh, she's 10 and the car is like right there. She's
I
fine.
know. I know.
She's not 5,
I know.
she can look both ways, she can navigate, so, but I think your kids are going to be just great. I think you and Keelan do an awesome job with them.
Well, I appreciate that.
And I love the fact that you guys allow the kids to be themselves and you guys are really like guiding, nurturing them through their journey, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Well, not great at taking compliments, but certainly trying. I'm just trying to get it right. Like I'm just trying to make sure that like at the end of the day, like am I teaching a kid who can be coachable and be, told and will listen, but also knows how to advocate for themselves, like both directions, trying to make sure that like they're just kind to others. It's hard. It's an important job, but it's a hard one.
One
So
thing
you're
that I
not.
always think about, Chad, is, and just keep this in your memory bank, is that like with Ronnie, I always told him, I'm raising you not for me, but I'm raising you for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So I'm raising you to be in society. I'm raising you to be a husband, a father. I'm raising you to be a great employee, a great man. I'm raising you to be this person that people can depend on and you're going to show up for them. And hopefully in your relationships, you're that provider and protector. Like I'm raising you to be that person because I'm not going to be here forever. And besides, I want a life too.
Right. Yeah, and deserve to have a life. I think that is an important thing that gets away from couples, parents all the time. Right? Like you go all in and your kids are like 100% of your time. Like the only thing you're ever doing is spending time with them. You don't vacation at all by yourself. You don't do an overnight by yourself. You don't even go on dates. And then what happens? Like your kids grow up and you looking around at each other. I meet a lot of guys on the golf course who are like, oh yeah, I was married 20 years and then we got divorced. Like, how's that happen? He's like, well, the kids grew up, they moved away, and guess what? Like, we didn't like each other
We
anymore.
didn't
Like,
even know each other anymore.
yeah, we weren't even like we weren't the same people. We didn't have the same interests. We didn't want to hang out together because all we had ever done together was go to hockey games. Well, like that's great, but like if you're not remembering to take care of yourself and to like go take care of your relationship or foster other friendships or have your own life, I just I on one hand I can admire that like to some people your kids are your life. Cool, that's great. I just never wanted like I don't want my kids to think that all they are when they're a parent is like a parent. Like I want them to know like you can still be a person and have a life and in fact, you should. Like you really really
Do
should.
you remember that first spring that Ronnie was running track and you're like, "Oh, no, Keelan would love that. When's the track beats and we could go." And I'm like, I'm not doing track." And you're like, "Huh?" And I was like, "Hey, I'm like, I've done football in the fall, basketball's a long season. He wants to run track and that's great. And I'll come if feel up to it and it's a good day or whatever and I got time and nothing going on." But one of the lessons I had to teach him was that sometimes you got to show up and just perform for yourself, not for anyone else. No matter who's cheering in the crowd for you, it could be everybody, it could be nobody. you still have to be able to perform and do it for yourself. So, and you were
Yeah.
just like, huh, I never thought about it like
Yeah, I
that.
mean, we've talked a lot about that because when Ronnie got to high school, I remember when he got the freshman basketball schedule, I was like so annoying about it because every game was at like 4. And I'm like,
Hmm.
well, how the hell are we supposed to go to a game at 4 o'clock? And even at that time, you're like, what's not a big deal? Like, come when you can. And then sophomore year, the games got a little later. And then by junior year, like I could go, and then I would start to feel bad if I wasn't going to make one. And you finally were like, you don't have to come to every single game. And I remember being like I guess showing up is like the way that people in my life were able to show that they loved you. But when you brought that other perspective to me of like, yeah, but you can't always have someone there. It's just not like it's not feasible in life. And it's not even necessarily a good expectation that you'll always have people there. I had just never even considered it from that perspective. And it really like it made me awaken to, I think, that it is okay. Like, even when you're not there, you cannot be there. And if you're supporting them in all of the other ways, they know you're still there, even when you're not, I suppose. And that was a hard one. Luckily, I was able to accept it with your child first. And then, and I was like, okay, like, that's fair. Like, I don't have to get to everything. I don't know. I just, that conversation, I think we've had that conversation over the course of like 7 or 8 years as I try and figure it out for myself.
Yeah.
Then there's other siblings. So, it's not just trying to get to Ronnie's, it's like trying to get to hockey games and trying to get to a volleyball tournament. And you start to be like, if you allow it, not only do you try to get to as much as you can, but you can never live up to it. So you never,
Exactly.
if that's how you
And
measure
then you're setting this false expectation with that kid or whomever that you're going to always be
100%
there. And that's not necessarily the case.
there.
And then it's not feasible. And then that day comes where you're not able to be there for whatever reason. And it's like, now they're having a bad game or they're having a bad day and they're hung
Or
up
they're
on this
looking up at the
thing.
stands. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, when times where I couldn't make it, it's like, hey, I know you got a game today. I want you to play hard. I want you to give it your best. I've got a meeting or I've got this, or, maybe it's just that I'm just not going, or I'm going to meet up with some friends because I need to have a life too, So whatever that situation looked like. So, but
No, it's a
yeah,
really good point. That's beautiful. Man, we covered some important topics in just episode 1, Anthony. I think this was a good decision. I'm so thankful you joined me today. I think everyone is going to love hearing your perspective and hearing us talk about things. Folks, I appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe. I think we're just doing YouTube right now. I don't know. I just learned the guy that owns Spotify is a real trash bag. So I'm just not really interested in posting my stuff to Spotify. So right now we're just a video, a YouTube thing. So like and share it there for us. Anthony, thank you so much for joining me. And as always, thanks for helping me be a better dad.
thanks for having me.
All right, bud. Take care.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us in the men's room. We hope that our conversations leave you feeling empowered, less alone, and ready to show up as a better husband, father, and friend. The men's room is proudly brought to you by Chad Henderson Coaching, your home for honest support, real life coaching, and a community that gets it. If you're looking for more ways to grow, or if you're curious about how personal coaching can help you step up in life, head over to CoachChadHenderson.com. Until next time, take care of yourself and those around you, and remember, the door is always open here in the men's room.